Welcome to Razzball Radio for Friday, June the 6th. I am your host, Nick Capozzi, and it's always a great show, but today it's extra great because we've got the smartest man, arguably in fantasy baseball. Sure, Larry Schechter might debate that. Sure, look, it's Rudy. It's Friday. We got Rudy in today. We're very excited to have him. Rudy, welcome to Razzball Radio. How are you, good sir?
Thank you. And just, I would debate that I'm the smartest man. I would debate against it.
Yeah, listen, that's fair. But at the end of the day, I'm the guy controlling the logistics here on the
Hey,
on the controls.
I'll take any compliment I can get.
Hey,
I'll
absolutely.
take any compliment I can get. It's flattery, I'm a pro flattery fan when it comes to me.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Okay, we're going to get right into it today. Today on today's show, today, not tomorrow, but today, we're going to do
And Curry.
Pardon me?
Sound like Ann Curry from the old Today Show. Got to look up some clips. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. In the news, let's talk about the news. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
All right, we're going to play a little buy and sell today. So let's get right into some guys that we are purchasing. Starting off with first guy you've got listed here today is Chris Davis with the C, not with the K. Talk to me why you think Chris Davis is a good buy right now.
Right. So all this comes down to is like we all know that there's going to be guys in your league that are willing to readjust their draft pick expectations.
Absolutely.
So like Chris Davis was a top 15 pick in just about every league. Right now, if we did a redraft, he would not be. There's no doubt that a guy like Encarnacion gets taken before him.
Yep.
There's no doubt Jose Abreu gets taken way before him. Right. So
hold on? Is that not crazy? Okay, would you take Abreu ahead of Chris Davis this year if we're redrafting right now?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know how anyone couldn't, because I mean, like he's so let's say Chris Davis now is maybe a third round pick.
Okay.
Second, late, probably third round, just because there's so many first basemen that get stuck in there. So if a guy's willing to readjust and say, okay, I'm going to think of him as a non-first round pick. I like Chris Davis just because the power is still there. His average right now is dipping. He just had a kid. And that's tough because Baltimore is a great place to hit, but that also means he has to go home every night with a screaming kid.
Okay, that's fair. We discount things like that, but it's true.
He is going to be loving life on the road. So, but the power's there. It's hard to get a guy who's like a 30 homer pace guy. He's one. I'd gamble on him, as particularly with a weak hit power team, and try to swap out maybe a corner guy without as much homer potential.
Okay, so you're buying Chris Davis. Another guy you've got on your buy list is Jason Kipnis. Obviously, was banged up most of the season. Hasn't got off to a great start since coming back, but you still think he's a buy.
Yeah, I mean he's really disappointed me in one league. So this is reality is second base is a decent position. Shortstop has been awful this year, I think, in terms of depth, but second base has been good. But he's still a 25-25 guy in my eyes. He has stolen a base or two since he's been back. I'm always worried about whether a guy is actually stealing. So I think the stolen bases are there, though. I think it'll all come together. I don't know if he'll have – maybe the DL will help stave off his usual DL swoon or second-half swoon. I think Kipnis is kind of a gamble. But, man, if you can get him for like like swap Altuve for him for a guy who's starting for stolen bases or any type of, 70 cents on the dollar trade, I'd take it.
Okay, fair enough. You've also got Washington National starter Jordan Zimmerman on your buy list. What are you liking about him right now?
So I have him in a few leagues, and he's been okay this year. The thing that's been killing him is balls in play have been really high for him. He's traditionally a good K guy and a great whip guy. Once those balls in play kind of neutralize, he started a lot of ground balls. He's now got Rendon playing third base for the full year. No more Zimmerman, which can only help if you've seen any of Zimmerman's throws. Desmond's not great, and Espinosa's not great at second either. But I see him as the balls in play are going to average out. He'll be a 1.2 whip guy, throw a ton of innings for you. Hopefully the Nats kind of have a better second half, get more wins. I think Zimmerman's kind of a very good SP2 in like a 12-team league.
And what would it
And you
cost to
might
get?
have
What would it cost to get
what would it
Zimmerman right now?
cost? It's tough. I just got an offer. I'm dealing with in one league where I tried to get him for more no, and the guy countered with an Anthony Rizzo. Um, so I mean that Anthony Rizzo's probably about the going rate. I don't love it there. The key is on these buy guys. Can you get them for a little less?
Right.
Now you always want to do that. Two lesser players. If you can trade one of your a closer, like a lower closer for him, plus maybe like whoever you got at first base, I'd do it. Or but yeah, I'm a fan of Zimmerman. I think he ends up being kind of like again probably a top 20 pitcher in that maybe that 12 to 20 tier.
Okay, one more guy on your buy list. We've got about 60 seconds here. Alan Craig.
Yeah, it comes down to April was just really bad for him on batted balls. He just wasn't hitting his line drives. The reason why he's a high average guy is that he hits a ton of line drives, hits a ton of gappers. He doesn't have elite power, just good power. The line drives came back in May. June, first couple of days haven't been great, but I do see him as kind of a 300 hitter with very good RBIs for the rest of the year. And I love that first base outfield eligibility. It gives you a lot of flexibility in daily lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, you buying Oscar Taveras? Real quick, 15 seconds.
Yeah, but probably not at the price. I think he's gonna be too tough to trade for.
Okay, I meant in general, but
maybe you can include him in some of the sell guy trades.
Hey, okay. Well, you know what? Funny you say
maybe
that.
He could sucker somewhere.
We'll be back right after this. We'll go over Rudy's sell list, whoever he's putting on the discount aisle right now, right after this. Okay, we're back, and now we're going to talk to Rudy Gamble at Rudy Gamble on Twitter. You need to interact with this guy. Let's talk about some guys that you are selling currently. It's been tough owning Kansas City Royals this year, especially Moose Tacos, but we're just going to skip over him. Eric Hosmer, you've got him on your sell list, but I don't know what you could get for him right now.
I know. So the guys I'm going to focus on the sell list are guys that are basically sell low candidates. So it's easy to say Charlie Blackmon, he's not going to keep up this pace. These are the guys that are the tougher decisions. And it could be you have to drop them. For Hosmer, if you were trying to be optimistic, you'd say he's in a lot of doubles. Doubles translate to homers usually.
Not in Kansas City, apparently.
What?
Not in Kansas City, apparently.
No, they can't hit homers for anything. I think Joe Posnanski writes like a post every day just saying the same thing over and over. They don't hit home runs.
You know what they got to do in Kansas City?
We have to sacrifice Steve Balboni.
You know what they got to do in Kansas City?
Can we find a crematorium where you could fit?
They got to go back to
the
those
special big and tall crematorium.
They got to go back to those '80s teams they had with all the gap hitters with speed. That's what they got to do back in Kansas City.
I take
I don't know.
I take Willie Wilson over Jared Dyson. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would some drug dealers I know.
So, what could you reasonably get for Hosmer, though? I mean, you got to get someone who's really hooked on him.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're just hoping to get anything. I think so. You're pushing the fact that he's hitting his doubles. The things I don't like about him, why I don't think him as a good candidate, he's not his fly ball distance isn't great. The line drives aren't great. He hasn't shown speed. There's none of the signs that it's going to come back.
Right.
I think you're selling the promise that, look, I'm selling a guy who is maybe a top 60 pick. I'm selling him for, like he's a top, like if we had a redraft now, you get 12th round. Remember, people are still going to gamble on upside in drafts if you're redrafting. So it's just a matter of finding that right person. And I think you're salvaging for a decent player right now.
Okay, you've got Brad Miller on the list. And I don't know that you could get anything for Brad Miller. He might be more of a keep or drop candidate. But talk to me about the Seattle second baseman.
I think no one in the expert world got hurt as much at Brad Miller as me. I'm in a bunch of leagues. Came at a great rate. I saw him as a 15-15 guy. I still have him in some leagues because reality is shortstop's just awful this year. There's just no one available as a free agent once you get outside a 12 team. So I'm telling anyone with 10 and 12 team, get rid of Brad Miller. The, he has one of the top. He's in the top 10 for lowest line drive rate among qualified hitters. But here's the thing: guys you'll find in there tend to be like a Pedro Alvarez. The reason they're there is because they hit a ton of home
Yeah,
runs,
they're
they hit a ton
lofting
of
it
fly
out. Yeah.
balls. So now Miller, the only other guy in that category that doesn't hit home runs or hits homers at a rate Brad Miller is Andrelton Simmons, another guy who's just not a very good hitter.
Right.
You know, maybe hit you your 15 homers and stuff. So they moved Miller down to eighth or ninth. It seems like James Jones is a pretty good lock at the number one slot. Saunders kind of toward the top of the lineup. Seager should be moved up if anything. Um, yeah, I think Miller. He's shown a little bit of sign of life in the box score. I'm very bearish on him.
Okay.
I don't think he comes back.
All right, let's go down the West Coast to San Diego. Jed Jerko, who might be one of the biggest disappointments this year for fantasy baseballers. What's the story with Jed?
He just seems lost. I mean, I'm not seeing any sign of life. I think there's something weird about San Diego's second halves. The guys that I don't know if you recall that this was maybe like 10 years ago. Khalil Green and Kevin Kuzminoff had monster second halves.
The
I think
Kuz.
Chase Headley had a monster second half a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And there's this kind of myth that guys who do well in the second half, it's going to carry over. And it seems like San Diego, I don't know, maybe it gets like there's certain weather climates in San Diego. I mean, I thought it's always just 80 and sunny,
Yeah, exactly.
75 and sunny. But last year I think Jerko and probably the next guy I think on the list, Will Venable, had great second halves. I think Venable might have been but it might even be more specific. August, September's were great. Right now both of them are looking awful. The line drive rates aren't there. The power isn't there. Venable's not stealing, and that should be slump proof. Just run when you're on base. So I'm seeing neither of those because they'll show up on the buy sell list. I'm saying like you see them on our buy sell list. I don't see it. I think Jerko's a guy you get away from at this point. I don't think you can get anything for him in 12-team leagues. I'd consider just dropping him.
So
there's second base.
I actually went out
and
got Jed Jerko in a keeper league just because it's 10 keepers.
Well, San Diego's on the hook for 5 years at $35 million. It feels like, I felt like his upside was Dan Uggla in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't going to be a high average guy. Maybe he gets 260 on a good year, 270. Right now he's looking like Dan Uggla 2014.
But he's been really unlucky. You've got to factor that in to some degree.
To some degree. I mean, like I said, in 15-team league, I have him starting in one league. I can't really get away from him. There's just not enough depth to have in those type of leagues. But I would start looking at I think the 12-team at the very least I would have him benched right now. In Yahoo leagues, Josh Harrison is a guy who's been pretty hot, and I've been running with in one or two leagues. He has second base eligibility there, not in ESPN, and that's probably not coming anytime soon with Neil Walker kicking butt.
Yeah, that's a guy that a lot of people are asking about Neil Walker if he is a buy-sell candidate, or if he's legit. And I mean, he's always been a pretty decent hitter. He just hasn't put it together for a full season. But what we're going to do, Rudy,
I've been a big fan of him.
We are going to come back.
I've been a big.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm a big fan of. I think Neil Walker. I'm always a big fan of those non-speed MI guys that you can get in later rounds that are good in runs, RBIs, give you some homers, give you everything except stolen bases when you get them at the right price. Last year was Daniel Murphy was awesome in that last year. Neil Walker has been good for me in 2 leagues. I think I have him.
Okay. I gotta cut you off, man. You're on a roll here, Rudy, but I gotta cut you off. We're gonna come back in just a couple minutes here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pepper you with some buy sells. We're unprepared. This is off the cuff, man. So we're gonna see what we can make happen there. We'll be back right after this. Okay, we're back with Rudy Gamble at Rudy Gamble, the brains behind Razzball and all the great machines. By the way, if you haven't used the tools at Razzball.com, you should. Go to Razzball.com under the tools icon. We got the Hittertron, the Streaminator, the DFS bot. Even we've got the tool for projecting how guys could potentially steal against certain starting pitchers. That's all you do, man. We keep you holed up and you create tools. So that is fantastic. But what we're going to do right now, Rudy, is I'm just going to pepper you here with some names, and I'm not looking for necessarily what you could get for them, but more if you're kind of buying or selling them having value this year. Fair enough? Yeah, there you go.
Thumb up, thumb down?
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Okay, so lots of talk with the June is a big month, obviously, for Super 2s. Oscar Tavares is called up. John Singleton is called up. We already mentioned, we briefly discussed Oscar Tavares in the first segment. But let's talk John Singleton. Are you buying or selling him being fantasy relevant in the second half with the Astros?
I'm not a fan of Singleton. I think he's kind of a Ryan Howard light. Probably not, maybe not a coincidence. He came out of the Philadelphia organization. First base is just deep. It's not. I'd probably give him in a league where I'm really starving for it. Yeah, I'd run him out there, but I'm not expecting. I'm expecting like 230-ish hitter with, maybe he hits the homers, but kind of a glorified Chris Carter.
Okay. What about a lot of talk that Polanco might be coming up soon? Of course, they moved him up in Indianapolis to the leadoff spot, getting ready for there. I think he's probably, when he does come up, he'll give you some speed, but just with a lot of prospect type. I don't know that he's more than a Sagnoff. By the way, if you're not always familiar with our terminology, Razzball.com under tools. We also got the glossary there. Sagnoff is steals ain't got no face. So Gregory Polanco.
Alternate is saves ain't got no face.
You're right, absolutely. Polanco.
It works for both.
Absolutely. It's a switch hitter. Polanco, what do you think?
Oh, I'm a fan. I mean, I think if just watch a couple videos of him, you could see that the power seems really just real lanky. Looks a little like, I haven't watched him a lot, but it reminded me a little bit of Jason Hayward, where you could see the power projection, but he's faster than Hayward. That's one. Yeah, I think he'd probably be my favorite rookie after George Springer.
Okay, interesting.
Springer was always kind of number one, and it is living up to the hype, at least from the power perspective.
And there's talk that Polanco might get called up today. There's talk he might get called up next Friday. I think we're past that kind of Super 2 window. With that said, it is going to be exciting, at least a reason to watch the Pirates, who haven't been very good this year, and a reason to tune in.
And the big thing with them was, I think the thing that was going to hurt Polanco was if Travis Snyder and Jose Tabata locked in right field.
Mm-hmm.
And
which they haven't.
They did not.
No, they did not.
And then Harrison, and I said, Josh Harrison's just a hot bat. He's a utility guy. So at the very least, I could see Polanco getting called up and immediately playing against all righties. And maybe they rest him against lefties.
All right, I'm going to go through some pitchers here. Some guys who are pitching well, some guys who we haven't seen yet this year. But just give me about 30 seconds on each guy. Real quick fire here. Jake Odorizzi, he's pitched fairly well for the Rays. Good K rate, obviously a lot of walks there as well. But Jake Odorizzi, what do you think about him rest of the season?
Got him in a couple leagues. I like him in like an AL only league because he's got the K rate. I don't think he's figured it out yet. I think when he's got great stuff. I think his off speed, his changeup, and his curveball are solid. But when things go bad, they go downhill fast. He's barely getting into the. I don't know if he's seen the sixth inning from the mound yet, or any time recently. I don't like him except in kind of deep leagues where you just hope he might figure it out. I think 25% chance he figures it out. 75% he continues down this trajectory.
Okay. What about sticking in the Tampa Bay Rays rotation? Chris Archer. More was expected of him this year.
I like Archer a lot more. I think he came up a more mature pitcher than Odorizzi. I think Odorizzi is also. I don't know if he has a he might be dealing with something. I've know friend Jason Collette who's a huge Tampa Bay guy, has been pointing out that that his curveball's on and off odors. He might have like finger issues, blisters. I don't know. Archer is right now seems to be a very good K guy, similar to Odorizzi. Um, People are not making good contact against Archer. I think his control is a bit of an issue, but I like Archer's upside for rest of year. He'd be a buy candidate in my eyes if you can get him.
Taijuan Walker, if he finally is healthy and the Mariners give him a shot, I mean, I love Taijuan Walker. I think he might be the best pitching prospect in the minors right now, period. Is he going to be fantasy relevant this year?
Yeah, if health permitting, yes. I mean, I think Seattle's just a great place to pitch.
Yep.
Uh, he has shown K potential. I'm kind of giving up on Paxton at this point because he got shut down again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you've got to give Walker a chance. And yeah, I think if Walker's healthy, pitches, good shot to be relevant in any league format.
Okay, just yes or no. Can these two Houston Astros keep up with what they've been doing? Dallas Keuchel first, yes or no? Keep it up?
Probably not.
Colin McHugh.
And probably not on McHugh either.
Hey, how'd you know I was going with McHugh?
Yeah, well, I figured, yeah. I mean, Cozart hasn't been bad either. I don't know what they're doing in Houston on the pitching coaching. That guy, there's a pitching coach of the year award. I think he's up for it. I think he steals the belt from the Pittsburgh guy. There's some serious regression there.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, you can see with A.J. Burnett in Washington. We were talking about him earlier today, too. All right, listen, Rudy, really appreciate you joining us today. Of course, at Rudy Gamble, the brains behind the operation at Razzball. I am Nick Capozzi, Nickcapozzi on Twitter. We'll be back Monday. Gray will join us for some regular Monday-type shenanigans. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.